Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Very Bad Things. So this is a Jon Favreau, Charlize Theron, Christian Slater film that is just kind of this like fun adventure of a film. It's odd to say that, but it is. So we go on and we have our characters that are, of course, having a wedding. And so that is to be kind of the theme of this story, because of course we have a number of guys who are all planning to go on to this bachelor party. And so really what ends up happening at that bachelor party is that there is to end up having, one way or another, which I'll talk more about in spoilers, we end up having a stripper who ends up getting dead, or is to possibly die by her own means, or whichever, but still she is dead. So now we go on and have all these guys who are either scrambling between going and calling the authorities, going and putting things right, or going on and hauling this body away within the desert. Within this story, we go on and kind of have the post-traumatic stress or the nervousness that is building between every single one of these characters, withholding this secret, and also having certain characters start to crack is starting to get to everybody. And more that we go on into this film, the more people have to go on and decide whether or not that this person should be left alive with the secret or not. And we just continue on this story to just see who is going to crack up, see who is eventually going to lose their mind. And it's all in the bare days upon a wedding that everybody is to continue to ruin a wedding for our Jon Favreau character, Kyle Fisher. Interestingly enough, we of course have this be a Peter Berg film. The same guy who is to go on and do movies like Hancock or Lone Survivor, or is to also do the horror film Shocker. He's to be the main guy for the movie Shocker. He was an actual actor at one point, and then decided to turn around and become a director. And he's a real very substantial director. And it's kind of interesting to kind of see how that shifted. So, with that said, really that's all that I really want to go out of my way to talk about this in a teeing up fashion, this film. I would say I have fun with this movie. Really, we have kind of a number of cast here that I'm just so happy to kind of see them in something other than what I would normally see them in. Because of course we have it where a certain number of characters, I've probably seen them in either Slitty Slickers, Iron Man, or like Christian Slater would have him just in a number of action films or in just a number of shows or something like that much more recently. But anyways, or Cameron Diaz, like I haven't really seen her much besides The Mask and besides other kind of eventual romance movies like The Holiday or something like that. It's kind of interesting kind of seeing her in this comedy film. So with that said, my overall grading for this film, I'm honestly having problems just saying that this is I would say that this is a positive film, but I don't know exactly where my grading would go for this film. Like, I think a lot of people might have wildly different opinions upon this movie, and so I could say that this is a thumbs up film, but I can't exactly go out of my way to, I feel like it's another one of those very middle of the road kind of movies, where really we just have it to where we have a bunch of interesting characters that are slowly but surely, like, losing their minds about what they had gone and done. And so that's kind of a fun approach of this. And we go on and have certain characters who are to die along the way here. and it does make for an interesting story. But I would probably have to say that this is a very middle of the road, like okay or better kind of film. Um, like, because for the life of me, I can't go on and say that this is a, like, oh my god, this is a great film. I was dying laughing throughout the whole thing. Because this movie isn't like that. You would have thought that this would have been a heavily comedic film with the whole entire cast they have here, which every single one of these guys are kind of groomed for this comedy thing, and every single one of them are kind of doing this serious film. So yeah, like I don't feel like 100% that this feels like a comedy, and if it is, I would honestly have been surprised. But anyways, so let's go into that double five time territory. Let's just go into spoilers for this one. Um, like I would suggest for people, where can they go to see this film? Like I would recommend. There's a number of apps that are renting this right now, but I would also go on and tell people they can go onto an app called uh, go through a Google search and search the word Fox HD Movies, and you will have a logo will say so, but a title will say something different. It'll say like play 1080p HD. If you search this app, download it, you'll be able to find any number of movies, new releases, old releases, and a bunch of cluster of shows, movies, everything that you can possibly imagine, all upon that app. You can go on and also, because this movie specifically like has this weird runtime on it, so you might have to go through where it has like the number 720 or 480 or something like that off to the corner. You can adjust it and find a different kind of link that is to show, because it's supposed to be 100 minutes long. It's supposed to be an hour and 40 minutes. And when I went through there, I was like, why is there only a 14-minute runtime on this movie? Because I would go on to other apps and I would dare, in fact, be able to find that same 14-minute runtime. I'm like, this makes no sense. So really, you could also go out of your way to probably find this on Amazon or eBay for really cheap. Go ahead and pick that up. If that's what you want to do. But yeah, you could also go on to apps called Letters See Movies. You can go on and Google search that. You can go on and also at some point go into a Google Play Store and download the app called TV Crush. You should be able to go on and just download it all, download everything that I just mentioned. So let's go out of our way to go in that double five time territory, because let's just go into this thing called spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this movie. So yeah, I would say I had fun in this film. Really, I wouldn't say that this is a negative movie, or like, because I've seen this once before, but I don't remember all of it. So I've technically seen, I think right around the bachelor party is where I've kind of seen this movie the first time around, and I'm like, okay, this is an interesting film. But I don't think I got all of it. I think I just got to the bachelor party part. Like it feels like the Tom Hanks movie Bachelor Party in some kind of sense, but that's more of a comedy, where this is more of like, oh my god, what did we do kind of film. So with that said, let's go into spoilers. So in the very beginning of the film, we of course have Mike Fisher and Laura Goretti. That is to be Cameron Diaz here, and Kyle is John Favreau. We go on and we have these two people who are bickering about the wedding, and it seems that Cameron Diaz is going on and on about how she's doing technically everything, and it seems that Kyle's character is to not do much of anything. As soon as he is to forget one simple thing, all of a sudden Cameron Diaz's character, Laura, is to just go onto this mode of like, oh my god, I'm doing everything. Ah! And so we of course have Kyle who had only forgotten about this tent check. And we have Laura who's like, hey, don't mess with these tent people. They're serious. And Kyle's like, no, I'm not going to mess with the tent people. Like, no, I just forgot. Like, I'll get to it. Like I know about the 10 people too. Like, we got it handled. And then Laura's like, I'm doing everything, and I bet you wouldn't forget about your bachelor party uh, checks that you're gonna have to mail. And Kyle's like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, Kyle is to mention to Laura that his friends are handling all of that, that he doesn't really have to do any planning, any nothing. His friends are doing it, it's handled. And so then we turn around and have Laura, who is starting to put down some of Kyle's friends, starting to go on and talk about Charles Moore, and saying that maybe both Kyle and Charles shouldn't be friends anymore. And Kyle is just like, well, I've known him ever since I was 3. So and then also we have Laura, who goes on and talks about Robert Boyd, the realtor, and she starts to talk about him also. All of a sudden, we end up transitioning for Robert Boyd to go on and start calling this stripper, and is to make these arrangements, like, I guess uh, outside her business, so this girl could pocket all the money instead of going through her business, to where I guess they're going to get a finder's fee or whichever. So Robert Boyd is scheduling this whole thing of this whole bachelor party, and all of a sudden there seems to be this couple that is really interested in the property, that he is, of course, holding a sign over saying that it's for sale. And Robert all of a sudden is turning to this couple and says, like, hey, like, I'm not quite ready for you guys yet. And they're just like, well, can we just kind of like peek our way through and just kind of see? And Robert's like, yeah, when I'm ready. Like, back away. Like, evidently this guy doesn't really like to sell homes, for whatever reason, but it seems like he's doing well for some reason also. So I think we really just have Christian Slater just really having fun with this role, because I think everybody is really just having fun with this role. So we go on and we have Kyle, who is to be at this cubicle business, not quite sure exactly what it is, and he is going on and talking to Michael, who of course is Jeremy Piven's character, who a lot of people will know him from a cluster of stuff. Like, I know probably a lot of people will know him from Entourage, or probably uh, a number of other things like this film. He's a very notable guy. Anyways, so we of course have both Kyle and Michael, and we have Kyle who's telling Michael, it's like, yeah, like, Laura is just stressing about this wedding. And so Michael and Kyle are just talking things out. And so all of a sudden we're having Kyle just kind of go on and deal with like his work. And so all of a sudden Adam is to kind of walk on in, who of course is to be Daniel Stern, who a lot of people probably know him mostly from either Home Alone or City Slickers. The Home Alone would of course be one of the Sticky Bandits. The of course the one opposite of Joe Pesci, the taller one. Yeah, or Chud, if you randomly saw that film, which I love Chud. It's a bizarrish movie, but I weirdly like it for some reason. So we have Adam kind of walking in and kind of talking to the guys, and then he walks off. And we, of course, have both Kyle and Michael kind of talking about him, like, like, yeah, he's your brother, man, like, and he's weird and whatever. So we go on and all of a sudden have Kyle, who is to while he's working, get a call from his soon to be wife, that is going on and saying, like, hey, oh my god, like, they called and they canceled. And Kyle is like, what are you talking about, as he's getting fed a bunch of stuff for work. We of course have Cameron Diaz's character Laura, who's mentioning that, I don't know why I have to say the actor's name every single time, but I seem to do at some points. We go on and we have Laura who's mentioning that I guess there was problems with these chairs for this wedding. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, well, where are they holding this wedding? In a church? Because it seems like, why would there be a problem about seating arrangements in a church? But that's, I guess, just me. So we go on here, and we, of course, have it where it seems that Laura is to say that I guess they ordered the wrong chairs, and these chairs don't have padding on them. So she's like, yeah, we have to figure out how we can go and call these chair people and get this changed. And I'm like, weren't you just calling them? Weren't they calling you? Like, why couldn't you have already gotten that finished and taken care of? That's just me talking. You're talking to those people. Like, how do you not? You had to have called those people, correct? I don't know. I don't get it. So we go on and we have Laura who's mentioning that now Kyle has to figure out some way to call these people and do it before he goes on to his bachelor party. And Kyle is like, well, hey, like, well, yeah, but aren't you gonna see me off because we're leaving to Las Vegas in like 3 hours? So are you gonna like meet with me? And Laura's like, sure, like I'll see you off. So we go on and we have all the guys who are to go and head to Vegas, and so we of course have Kyle who is actually trying and going and calling these people, and supposedly he has left a number of messages to where all of a sudden Laura is calling him at some part of this party when Kyle is to just miss Laura and say that he loves her. And she's like, well, yeah, but did you deal with the chair people? And Kyle's like, I left 3 messages. Like, well, yeah, but did you deal with them? Oh my god. Settle down, woman. Good grief. Like, what is it, the end of the world if we don't get padded chairs? It. Like, come on. Anyways, so we go on and we have these guys that are at this bar just boozing it up. And so we go on and have these guys retreat to this room where eventually they are like getting either drunk or they're like snorting cocaine. I'm like, oh my god. So we have at one point where both Adam and Kyle are in some spot together off to the side, kind of on this balcony. And so Adam is going and telling Kyle here, because I guess this is foreshadowing for possibly later, where Adam is telling Kyle that, hey, if there's anything that has to ever happen, like, you're my kid's godfather. Because, like, when looking at it, if anything, that's always going to be the most important when you become a dad and you and you're gonna try to do the best you can to be with your kids, and that eventually there's going to be some storm of brewing, and hopefully the only thing that the weather doesn't go on and realize is that there's to be like little trees that are to be left out of all this brush, that there's to be like 2 little trees that are to be going on and just surviving out of a horrible storm that is to be. I'm like, what the is Adam even talking about here? He's talking nonsense. He's drunk. So we go on and have Kyle and Adam, who are to realize, because of course the guys are to mention to him that the stripper is on her way. So it seems that Robert is to pay his way for Kyle to be able to get get whatever he wants out of this stripper. We, of course, have Laura, who is telling Kyle that, hey, whatever you do, don't have cheap sex with a stripper. Like, whatever you do, just don't do it. And Kyle's like, yeah, I won't. I won't do it. I won't have the cheap, dirty sex. Like, I won't. So we go on and we have Kyle, who everything is supposedly bought and paid for. So we end up having this stripper, who, of course, to be named Lena, that I guess to have a very weird, goofy picture on IMDb. So Tina is to go into this place and immediately is to eventually go on and give a lap dance, of course, to Jean Favreau's character Kyle. We go on and have Tina, who is to go on and strip for Kyle, and then it gets to the point where it seems that Tina could go and do a little bit more for Kyle, and Kyle's like, nope, sorry, like, just go on as somebody else. So all of a sudden, we have Tina going on to Adam as she weirdly is like doing things with his fingers, and we transition and have eventually Tina, who's going off with Michael, into this bathroom because Michael is to, of course, want to basically sleep with this woman in the bathroom or bang this woman in the bathroom. And so Tina is to mention to Michael, it's like, hey, for you, $500. And he's like, huh? It's like, what? Robert didn't pay? And she's like, no. And so Michael ends up paying for it, and then he ends up really paying for it when he goes on to, like, this guy has snorted a bunch of cocaine, and I'm sure he's done a number of things here, very drunk and very whatever. We even have it at one point where we can start to see that Charles has gone and done a number of lines of cocaine to the point of him eventually going on and breaking this table. And now he's just sitting in this table, like a little bit of cut up here. And they're like, oh my God, man, you're wild. So all of a sudden we have Michael with Tina. They're just thrashing consistently around this bathroom for some odd reason. And so all of a sudden we accidentally have Michael thrusting Tina against this wall he is to naturally assume for Tina to be having this hook go right through her head and get killed here. So it seems that Tina is just now attached to this wall. So now Michael has to go on and open this door and tell the guys that he had accidentally, like I had killed this woman. And so they end up going into the room realizing that, yeah, this girl is dead. And so it seems that she's bleeding from her head, and she, of course, to be like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, she's dead. So we go on and we now have everybody who's immediately saying, like, well, yeah, we should call the authorities, we should call the police. And we, of course, have Robert who's like, whoa, 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 call the police? No. Like, how about we just go on and nobody really knows that this girl's here? How about we just bury her in the desert? And they're like, wait, what? And so Robert's like, well, hold on a minute. Like, think of it this way. Any number of us could probably go to jail, and especially Michael, who is to have been the one that killed this girl. And so Robert is now convincing everybody that maybe they should go and bury this girl out in the desert. And so now we have it to where people have to go and have a show of hands to show whether or not they're going to let this girl out in the desert or call the police. So, plus all these guys are high as a kite anyways, or drunk, and so no one would probably believe their story. So we go on and have eventually everybody but Adam go and raise their hand to say, like, yeah, let's leave this girl in the desert. So all of a sudden we end up having a security guard that is to go on and knock at this door. No one is to really answer, so this security guard is to make his way in. So they go on and they try to close this door, this bathroom. They go on and have Michael, who is trying to adjust his robe. And so the security guard is now asking these guys, is like, hey, you heard me knocking on this door, right? And they're like, well, yeah, but we just needed a minute. So we go on. We of course have it where the security guard is like, man, like I guess you guys are having a really loud night here, and so we go on and we have this security guard who's just kind of looking further and further around. So he's just like, well, like I guess everything could probably be like fine here, as Robert is to give the security guard a big fat payout. As the security guard is looking at this table that is broken, and he's like, yeah, you guys are going to be paying for that, you know that, right? And they're like, yeah, like we'll take care of it tomorrow morning. So we go on and have this security guard that of course is making his way out all of a sudden to see something in the reflection of a form of a dead body. So now we have it to where this security guard is to make his way into this bathroom, and we now have, of course, Robert's character with this corkscrew, and he stabs the guy, and so they go on and they close this door, and they're just waiting it out for this guy to die now. He'll die out eventually. He'll just bleed to death. It'll be okay. What happens if the guy just didn't bleed to death? Like, did that make any sense to anybody? Like, what if he would have like put pressure on the wound? What if he would have gone on and figured out a way to like get out of there? It seems like he was strong enough. So we go on. We have this guy, I guess, die and bleed out. So now we have it to where Robert is to say, "Hey guys, like before this gets any further, like let's go on and just have a plan here." Like, let's go and orchestrate something so we can get rid of these bodies. So we go on and we have all these guys who are getting all these supplies from, of course, this store. And they're going on and buying all this stuff to go and take care of these bodies. I guess no one is to realize that any of this is at all suspicious. But I guess really when looking at it, they were probably buying like stuff and convincing people that they're doing some construction job. Or we really could have had it to where Robert could have easily said that he was uh, cleaning up some house, and like he could kind of show him his realtor card, and people would probably easily get convinced here. But that never happens in the story. They just buy a bunch of and nobody asks questions. So we go on and have these people who are going on and uh, basically chopping up these bodies into little pieces, and they're putting them all in luggages. So we go on here and we have them go and really clean up good this bathroom, as some people are slipping and falling and whatever. So we go on and just have these guys that are just chucking all of these body parts in all of these suitcases and then just calling it a day. So we go on to have all these guys who are going to the desert and going and just kind of dropping all these things of luggage in this hole somewhere. And Adam's like, wait a minute, we can't do this. And they're like, wait a minute, like, we've gone so far and done all this stuff. What are you talking about, Adam? So Adam is saying, like, well, we can't do this because we need to go and perfectly stack all the body pieces with all the people so that way they can lay to rest in the right way. So, because we have it to where I guess Adam doesn't want these characters haunting him for the rest of his life, so that way their bodies can rest. So we go on and have them start taking out all the body pieces to align the body pieces for head, chest, legs, whatever. And so after they do that, they of course go on and bury the bodies. So Now, of course, we have everybody go back to just their normal lives after this whole thing, and we of course have every bit of every single one of these guys that are just kind of like blah about this whole thing. So we now go on and start to have people that are getting very worried that something is going to be found out about this case. So we of course have it where Adam starts with like, I wonder if that security guard had kids. And so all of a sudden we have Adam going out of his way to go and find out that there is a missing persons report from that security guard. And he finds out that this guy was to have two kids. And he's like, I told you guys that he had kids. I told you. And Adam is also like, and they're going to figure us out. They're going to figure us all out. And they're like, what is there to figure out? Like, it's just a missing persons report. Like, there's nothing that's going to come out of this. So we go on and we just have Adam that is just getting more and more just every single turn he is to just kind of think that somebody's going to be after him or somebody knows, or we really have it to where when he goes to this gas station and police are just pulling over, we have Adam that's trying to do his gas, and all of a sudden there's to be one guy who is to go on and ask Adam here, hey, you like your minivan? So Adam's just like in fear of everybody. So we go on and have Adam with his wife and kids. So we have Lois who's telling Adam, hey, go and get the kids some wizards, and so that way like we can like just leave here and have the kids happy. And Adam was going on saying it's like, well, the only reason why he paid with a credit card for gas was that way he wouldn't have to go in the store. And so we go on and we have Lois who's just saying like, just go in and go into the store and get this candy. So Adam is to all of a sudden go in the store, and so he's going through the whole aisle trying to find this candy and he can't find it. I guess there might have been some sponsorship that is probably through any number of that candy in the store. So we go on here and we of course have Adam that is freaking out so badly that every time anybody is to kind of touch him or ask him if he's okay, he starts falling over in the aisles. And he's like, whoa, whoa. And he like dunks over this candy to the point, or dunks over this kind of pop or whatever, to this point where this convenience store clerk is just desperately telling Adam, like, just get out of here, just leave. So we go on and we have Adam who goes to his family and just tells them that that there was no candy, that they were completely out. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And she's like really, really, Adam? And he's like, "Yeah, they were out." So wow, probably because the candy isn't a real candy. So we go on and we have this rehearsal dinner, and so we all of a sudden have Kyle and Laura there, and we of course have, I think, Kyle's dad who's making a speech talking about football and talking about how the guys weren't good at football and they were like 0 for 12 or whatever. So we go on and seem to find some like young picture of a young John Favreau uh, playing football, I guess, or just a shoulder pad kind of thing. So we go on and all of a sudden we have Adam that is still having like this panic attack where he's thinking that someone is going to find out here. So we go on and we just have like Adam who is just freaking out so badly that all of his friends are going to go out there, even Kyle himself is to try to calm Kyle down. So we go on and we have both Adam and Michael who are now fighting here, and so Adam uh, Adam is accusing Michael of being a murderer, which technically he is. And so we have Michael who touches Adam's minivan, and we have Adam who's telling him, like, don't touch my minivan. So we go on, we have Michael and Adam that are in such a freaking bad, angry, upset way to where they're almost fighting and they're trying to pull one another off one another with the use of their friends. And so we go on and we have Michael just get into his car, and now we have Robert that's telling Adam, like, hey, the problem's gone, let's go back in. We have of course Laura that's running out there and like, hey, this is our rehearsal dinner, what are you guys doing out here? And Kyle is just like, hey, like, just give us a minute. And like Kyle or Laura is wanting to get more and more into this and see what this all is, because she just wants to just resolve all this so quickly, because like it seems like these people are taking away her moment. So we have Kyle kind of flinging Laura, just having her push on to just go back into the dinner for them to finish this all up. So all of a sudden, we end up having Michael, who is to seemingly leave, but then he turns around to want to just obliterate and destroy Adam's minivan. And so now Adam is to make his way to walk right in front of this minivan, as Michael is to go on and crash right into it, realizing that this was to supposedly be written off as another accident, when the police, of course, is to fill out this report. So we now have it where Adam is in this hospital and he's seemingly on his deathbed. And so we go on and we have Adam that is to have his wife come to him on his deathbed, and Adam is whispering sweet nothings to Lois, and all of Adam's friends are there at this hospital, and they're like, oh my god, what did Adam say to Lois? We need to know exactly now what exactly he said to her. So that's the next task. So we go on, and now we also have it where Michael is just, he's the next one to lose his mind, and we end up having it to where Michael is to be at this diner. And so we have Michael who is going on and saying that he's a murderer and he killed his brother and all of these accusations and so on and so, and he's like quoting Bible scripture to people, and just like, because we go on and we had of course Kyle, who, when both the security guard and Tina were being buried, and Kyle had no clue how to pray, because I guess he's never been to church before. And so Kyle is going on and trying to say, like, God, could you forgive us for what we have done here? Because we realize that, like, we have made a mistake and this and that. And he's just going on and, like, saying that they have lost their way, and that hopefully there is some kind of guidance that is coming from God in the future, and so on and so forth. So we have Michael, who is to be reminded by Kyle saying this stuff from before about prayer and stuff like that. So to where also Charles is starting to say stuff about that also, where it feels like he's getting inspired to do some good after the bad that they had done. So we go on and we have Michael that just becomes this wild animal. And so it just gets to the point where Robert is to just immediately say that, hey, I think it's about time to kill two birds with one stone. So, because we have Robert who's going on and mentioning how once they're in the car, making their way to Lois, wanting to just talk to her, we have Robert who's saying that, like, love will triumph over all, and to the point where we have Robert who all of a sudden is to kiss John Favreau's character, and is to say, I love you, man. I love all of you. Like, we're just having it to where it's like, oh my god, like, Robert is losing it also, to where he's just going on a killing spree. Because if Michael isn't to be a killer, I guess we have to worry about Robert now and his murdering ways. So we go on and we have Robert, who is, of course, going with the many of guys to Lois's place. Because Lois is to make a phone call stating that it seems that Adam was to have this note confessing what he had done. So we go on here and we, of course, have all the guys making their way to Lois's place. And she now is asking all the guys what happened in Vegas. And all the guys are saying, like, well, nothing. Like, we did nothing. And so Lois is going on and asking Michael, it's like, hey, what happened at Vegas? And Michael's saying, like, well, we did some bad things, but really we did nothing. Because this is already after the time of which that Adam has had his funeral, and Michael was to go on and try to hug on to uh, Lois, and was grasping onto her so much so that they were having to pry Michael off of Lois, as he's just like crying harder than anybody else is at this funeral. So, and I guess I also had forgotten to mention how Lois was to accidentally break her nose, because Adam was to accidentally go on and break the car's hit the brakes so hard on the car that it bashes freaking Lois's nose. The rest of the movie, she has this kind of thing upon her nose, this little brace. So we go on here and we now have it where uh, we have Robert telling the guys, like, hey, just kind of get out of here. Like, I'll deal with it. And Kyle's like, what are you talking about? Are you gonna go and kill? And like, Robert's just like, I'll deal with it. So just, you guys go off and you guys just kind of blow off some steam. And so we go on and we have Lois that is sleeping. And so Robert is to creep into this girl's place. And we have it to where Robert is now having a fight with Lois. And Lois is like, hey, you picked the wrong woman to mess with. Because all of a sudden we have Lois, who is going and biting the nuts off of Robert and just beating the crap out of him. And so we go on here and we have it where Robert is to take care of Lois. And so Robert is to call the guys to come back, because Robert wants Michael to come with him into this place. We end up hearing a gunshot. Robert makes his way back to the car, both Charles and Kyle in it. And so Robert is to come up with a story where I guess both Michael and Lois were having this affair. And so maybe that was a reason why both Michael and Lois both simultaneously died, because I guess Lois was to not be able to live with the affair and something like that. So we go on and have Michael, who is, I guess, to kill Lois and then pull the gun on himself. So we also had, when Lois was trying to figure out what had all happened, we eventually have where these guys mentioned that Adam was to have slept with this stripper, because it seems that Adam is to have an affinity for wanting to have Lady of the Night sessions. So Lois is like, "Oh my God, not my Adam, not my Adam." And like, yeah, they're like, "Let's come up with some kind of excuse." So we push on, and so Robert is now like scrapped up from him just being beaten up by Lois. We ended up having this one moment where Laura was going on, and this is early in the movie, and so she was going through and checking on all of these guys, and noticing that there was a number of problems between all of them. That when they were all getting their tuxes fitted, it seems that Laura was to have problems with every single one of them. Like Charles was to have dirty nails, and Michael was to have like a suit that didn't like seem quite right, and every single little tiny detail about this about these tuxes, Laura was just going through with a fine tooth comb, and like if the suits didn't like rest on these guys right, she like complained about that. So it's like, oh my God, how much money are you putting into these tuxes? Good God. So so we go on here, and we of course have it uh where now Laura's dead and Michael is dead. And so now we have to put a wedding on with very few people really left here. So we go on, we have this wedding, and so now we of course have it where now Robert is kind of losing his freaking mind, uh, with all that he is talking about to Kyle. And so because we have it to where Robert is weirdly talking about blood money, like as if Robert is to owe him money now for all the people that he has technically murdered, keeping their secret. And the funny thing is, we have it where Laura and Kyle were to find out after Adam and Lois were to die that they were to be the next of kin to get all their inheritance. And it seemed like after they found out that Adam had gone into so much debt that they were only left out of hundreds upon thousands of dollars of possible money that they could get. It seems like they were only left with $14,000 to raise two kids and a dog. So we go on, and we have Kyle and Laura, who are now forced to raise two kids that they didn't want. So that's great. So we go on here, and we now have our characters that are going to this wedding. And so, like I said, Robert is now go crazed and want money from Kyle, blood money. So we had Kyle, who is to tell Laura the truth after them finding out what kind of money that they are to get from this guy that they kind of had gotten from Lois and Adam both dead. So now Laura is to know this deep down secret. So now we're at this wedding. Robert is now choking Kyle about the whole blood money situation. We, of course, desperately have Laura, who, no matter what, is to want this wedding to go off without a hitch. Because there's so much money that they can't refund. Everything has to be perfectly done. Kyle at some points is wanting to cancel, and Laura's like, we can't cancel. Like, there's so much money that we've already sunk into this. There's no way that we can just cancel or whatever. So all of a sudden, Robert is to be choking Kyle. Laura comes in and is to bash uh, Robert with this pole thing to possibly knock him out. And so now Laura is telling Kyle like, "Hey, let's get ready for this wedding. Let's get everything going." So we now have it to where it's just left with Kyle and Charles, and they're saying like, "Hey, we're gonna go this wedding without the best man, and we're just gonna have to do it." So they go off with the wedding, and so we go on and we have it to where it seems that Robert, the best man, was to have the rings. So we now have it where Kyle is telling Charles, "Hey, go and find Robert and get the rings from him because he's in this bathroom." So we go on and we have Charles, who is to find Kyle's body that seems to be very like messed up and very damaged. And so he gets the rings and he's like, "Hey guys, like wedding continues." So the wedding goes off, and so we end up having it to where, of course, Charles had to go and accidentally kill um, Robert, and so Laura is now telling Kyle here to go on and bury Robert and then turn around and probably kill Charles because that's one last loose end. And probably also kill that dog. So now we transition to have now Kyle at this desert. And so we, of course, have Kyle that's burying Robert, and all of a sudden Charles is mentioning that he wants to make a difference and take what he has done and try to do something positive and maybe go off and like live in some desolate wasteland somewhere where he can help some people and so on and so forth. So, and any number of random things. So we go on and we have Kyle who is to hold up this shovel thinking that he's going to go and uh, kill, of course, Charles here. And Charles is looking back at Kyle like, huh? And so Kyle can't go through with it because there's no good reason for him to kill Charles here because he's known him since forever. So while Kyle and Charles are making their way to uh, get out of this desert, all of a sudden they're in this horrible car accident that has Charles going and flying out of this car, and it seems like all these people are all hurt. So we go on and we find out in this story here that I guess Kyle and Charles are technically still alive, but they're now in these wheelchairs, and Kyle has lost both of his legs, and so Charles is kind of using this wheelchair where he has to blow through this straw to be able to get around. So now we just have it where we get Laura to just lose her freaking mind as she's going and cleaning up this house, and like she's the only one that's able to do any number of this stuff. So it seems that she is to finally just lose her mind and is just walking into this road, and she is to just fall over and be like, ah! And then she falls, and she's in this road, and so that's, I guess, the goofy way that this movie is to end. We have at one point where Kyle is going and talking to one of Adam's sons and is trying to like talk to him and say like, "Hey kid, like use your words, like I can help you," and so on and so forth. And so we all of a sudden have Kyle who turns to Lauren saying like, "Hey, like should we talk about a relationship? Like, do you want to talk about things?" And so we just have Laura who just loses her mind at this point and is to just like run off, just like, God, is this really my life? So with that said, I think I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.